Hey everybody, it's Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich. Want to do a quick vlog on the severe weather setup tomorrow. It's kind of an interesting setup. When you look at the radar, the futurecast, it looks really ominous, but then I start diving into some of the ingredients and it's bizarre. There's just not a ton of ingredients there. So while I'm not going to downplay this, I actually think the threat could go up. It is interesting to see why some of these ingredients aren't coming together and probably why we're going to stay in the low threat at least for the time being. This is a view of the future cast tomorrow, but I want to start with that severe weather outlook because I knew we would see the low risk. I mean, that was pretty much a guarantee. But you see the medium threat coming into parts of Georgia. Don't be surprised if the low risk gets expanded a little bit. Remember, Thursday morning it's going to be here, so this is going to be moving across Wednesday night into Thursday morning. This medium threat could shift north, but based on what I'm seeing right now, it's hard to imagine that happening because of some of the ingredients just not there. The primary concern I think could end up being flash flooding because while that squall line looks menacing, it takes forever to get across us and it could sit over us and dump some really heavy rain. So damaging winds will be our primary concern. Anytime you see a squall line, it's always straight line winds. It's a non-zero tornado threat, which means you can get little buckles in that line and get a spin up, but it's really not a tornado setup based on what we're seeing right now. It's damaging winds and flooding that would be our primary concern. So let me show you the timing here. I'm going to show you our future cast and I'm going to play this and I'll pause it a couple times here. So you see this is a Wednesday evening. So I'm going to stop this at around 8 p.m. Look at that line coming into the mountains, moving through the foothills, and then down into the Piedmont. Here it is 10 o'clock. I mean, it started coming in at 8. It's still over us at midnight. It's taking its sweet old time. And these aren't just showers. These are thunder showers and thunderstorms. So dumping really heavy rain at 1 a.m. moving across. So you see the shape of this line. There is some little squiggles in there, and the squiggles are important. You see an S curve like this? That's a push of wind there. That's a push of wind there. There's a little bit of an inflow there. Sometimes you get little spin ups in some of these notches. So that's something to watch for spin ups. But overall, this is a very, very big wind threat based on what we're seeing. And then the fact that it takes all night to move across, I mean, that's a big problem. And I'll show you. Just look at this. 3 in the morning, still sitting over the Piedmont, 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6, 7, 8, and then it starts to move out of the area by tomorrow morning. But what's fascinating to me is looking at some of the setup. So here's a look at the radar. Again, the radar looks real ominous. I'm going to let this play through a couple times. You see it. We'll let it play through. I mean, that looks crazy, right? You see that radar and you go, Brad, that looks nasty. I mean, even I'm like, and that's nasty, all right? It's moving across us. Same time frame pretty much I just showed you on Futurecast. But look at some of the ingredients there. One of the things I look at is CAPE, that thunderstorm fuel. So this is a look at the thunderstorm fuel at the same time. There's some there, but tiny amounts, like 300-400 CAPE, which is 1,000 or more is typically what I start really paying attention. That's tiny. Now that has a lot to do with the time of day. It's in the middle of the night. There's not a lot of heating then, so there's probably not going to be a ton of CAPE, but that's pretty puny. Now, what we lack in the thunderstorm fuel, we're making up with a boatload of wind shear. So this is the storm relative helicity, and you can see the chart here on the left. So the brighter the colors, the more helicity or wind energy with this system. So there's a ton of wind energy. So we refer to these as high shear, which is wind energy, and low CAPE, low thunderstorm fuel. That's the type of setup this is. So you see that wind shear, that catches your eyes, but the thunderstorm fuel's not much of anything. And then we look at the updraft helicities here, which is the rotating storms. You see some pretty impressive updraft helicity. And notice how it's more of a line instead of individual cells. That's indication of pretty strong winds moving across. So that's why you're seeing kind of some uncertainty in this. You've got all this wind energy, but not a ton of moisture or heating. And I'm going to go back to what's happening right now because this will tell us a lot about what's going on. Our system's developing right here. Over us, it's in the 70s. We have some clouds, but look at the dew points. Dew points over us are in the 30s and 40s. That's incredibly dry, even down into Georgia and Alabama. So there's no moisture here. Remember, to get severe thunderstorms, typically 55-degree dew point higher is what you need. And even in the 50s, that's pretty low. Usually I like to see it in the 60s if I think we're going to see some storms. You see where the moderate threat is today. Look where the dew points are, in the 60s. Okay? So what we need to happen, or don't happen, depending on how you look at this, if Mother Nature is going to give us more severe weather, these dew points in the 60s down here are going to have to move up ahead of this line. And that's what I'll be watching tomorrow. Now, the good news about the timing, nothing during the day tomorrow. This is going to happen tomorrow night. Now, that's bad timing because I hate nighttime storms like all of you, but that's the timing. So we've got plenty of time tomorrow to watch this. And the thing to watch for tomorrow, we'll be up near 80. If we see dew points creeping up close to 55, 60, then we're going to have more of a threat. So if you're looking for one factor that's going to change the outlook tomorrow, it's all about that low level moisture. Otherwise, these are what we call elevated thunderstorms. They'll still have wind, heavy rain, lightning, maybe some hail, but that would deter the overall severe threat and certainly deter the tornado threat. On Monday, even though we had 18 tornado warnings, a lot of that was elevated. Nothing was reaching the surface. So we could see a very similar scenario where we get some pretty nasty storms, but nothing makes it to the ground. So we'll be watching it. It's something I'm keeping an eye on. We still got plenty of time, but just be weather aware. One thing I would do, download the wcnc Charlotte weather app. It's got great alerts. I love it. Download our news and weather app. You need to have them together. And the reason why is the weather app's great for alerts. The news app will give you live streaming if we're going wall to wall. Both of them are great apps. I highly recommend them. I got them both on my phone. Charge this bad boy up tomorrow during the day. Make sure it's fully charged at night. Turn that volume on and leave it next to your bed because we could have some overnight warnings and certainly some gusty winds. Of course, I'll be on today at 5, 6, and 11, and we'll break it down further on WCNC. Have a great Tuesday.